Hi, my name is Nikki Flynn, and I am going to do Module 1, Personal Information, and 3 levels of government for EDL 850, School Law. So I live in Fairfield, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cincinnati, Ohio. I think we're probably like 40 minutes, 30 something minutes away from downtown Cincinnati. Of course, we do root for the Cincinnati Reds and the Cincinnati Bengals. I am married. We are having our 14th anniversary coming up on Valentine's Day this year. We have 4 children. Chandler is our oldest. He is 16 in 11th grade. Corey is 12. He is in 7th grade. Carson is 10 in the 5th grade. And then our only girl, Cassandra, is 9. She's in 4th grade. Some interest and hobbies. I really love watching movies. My favorite movies are usually like action movies or mystery type of movies. I'm also into thrift shopping. I like going to thrift stores, yard sales, finding good deals. Um, I shop on like Facebook Marketplace, and we used to do Craigslist, but we use Facebook Marketplace more now. But I just like looking for like good deals and used things that can be repurposed. And then another interest and hobby that I have is YouTube. I love watching YouTube videos and I make YouTube videos sometimes as well. I am certified to teach math and language arts for grades 4 through 9. I have a middle school license. I know that math and language arts are not the normal 2 subjects that people pick, but math has always been my favorite, and I love reading and doing all of the language arts stuff as well, writing. So that's why I picked those 2. This is my 15th year teaching. I'm currently teaching 2 elective classes called Applied Reading and Applied Math. They are geared towards students who are on the bubble and might have scored like right under proficient for the state testing and need a little extra support and help for reading and math. And then I also got asked this year to teach an 8th grade algebra class. So it's advanced students who are taking 9th grade algebra for high school credit as 8th graders. And this is actually a completely online class that is through another middle school in my district. But because it's online, I'm able to do it from my school. And then um, actually, the elective classes that I'm teaching this year are online as well. So we are in person at my school, but the students stay in the same room all day. They're in a cohort, and then their 4 core teachers rotate into the room with them. And when it's time for electives, one elective teacher goes into the room with them and just kind of watches them while they work on their 2 elective classes during that time. So we're not in the room with them while they're working on our content. It's a definitely different year this year, as I'm sure we all know. My district is Northwest Local School District. It is really large. There's approximately 9,000 students in the district. We've got 2 high schools, which are grades 9 through 12, 3 middle schools, which are grades 6 through 8, and then 5 elementary schools, grades K through 5. I'm at one of the middle schools. We are a Title I school. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that we're like 90% free and reduced lunch. And I also put on here that we are 1-to-1 with technology. We have been, I think this is the 4th year that every student in our district has a Chromebook that they take around with them for all their classes all day. And even this year, they're allowed to take it home. So now I'm going to move on to talking about the 3 levels of support: federal, state, and local. So, support for public schools. When it comes to the federal support, this is the lowest level of support that there is. They only provide about 10% of the operating funds for our schools. And in order to get those funds, they have different requirements that schools have to meet in order to get that money. And when the federal budget is created each year, they set aside money to give to the schools. Some of the requirements that schools have to get funding, an example of that is No Child Left Behind. So schools are required to do testing each year and in order to get that funding. When it comes to state support, they have the primary accountability for this. Um, they do provide just a little less than 50% of the operating costs. Most of that comes from sales tax and income tax. State lottery money sometimes goes to schools. It really depends on the state and the way that they have that set up. And one thing I did find interesting was that it doesn't really supplement the budget, it kind of replaces it. So they don't get as much money from the lottery as I thought. One example of some things that the state does for accountability to get their funding is incorporating like Common Core standards and race to the top, things like that. Those are some of the requirements and regulations that they provide. And then locally, the local gives the most support to the schools. They provide all the rest of the budget after the federal and state money is received. They divide the districts up based on boundary lines within the state, and then those school districts are responsible for that. They use property taxes for all of the homes that are in that area. And because of this, it really varies between districts how much money that they get. Because if you're in a more affluent area, you're going to have a higher budget than an area that has lower income housing. All right, so who is in charge at the federal level? So the Department of Education federally was created in 1867. There is a Secretary of Education who is nominated by the president and then voted in by the Senate. The current Secretary of Education is Phil Rosenfeld. It was Betsy DeVos when Trump was president, but Biden she stepped down and resigned. So Biden nominated Phil Rosenfeld for this position, which is paid. The federal government, when it comes to education, some of their responsibilities are to promote student achievement, create national dialogue and awareness for different issues, ensure equality and different equal opportunity for all students, provide funding for high need students, like students with disabilities and low income students. They also support research and inform state and local authorities of different policies and based on the research that they do. And then they also support continuous improvement of conditions at schools. So they're always wanting schools to improve and um, get better. Some examples of things that they have done is FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which prohibits schools from sharing like personal information. And then ESEA, which is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965. State. So I live in Ohio. So our state has the Ohio Department of Education, or ODE. There are state boards of election members. There are 19 of them in Ohio, and they are elected from all of the different districts. So they have the state divided into these different areas, and there's one per area um, that's voted in. Ohio's Superintendent of Public Instruction is Paulo DeMaria, which is a paid position, and the State Board of Election members also get paid to work there. Some of their responsibilities is to establish education standards for the subject areas, which, for example, we use the Common Core standards here in Ohio. They also provide framework for evaluating teachers and schools. And then I also put on here that the 10th Amendment gives states the control of education after the federal government. So states have a lot more power and control than the federal government does when it comes to creating the different policies. And then locally, I am in the Northwest Local School District. Like I said before, the superintendent is Todd Bowling, which is a paid position. We have a local school board with 5 members. They are elected and non-paid positions. I think they do get a small stipend for um, meeting, like up to 3 hours or something like that, but mainly they are volunteer. Some of their responsibilities are to speak for the community. They approve different district policies that the superintendent proposes. They approve the school budget. They levy taxes if we need more funding. So they would be responsible for creating those new school levies. They represent the students. They are in charge of hiring personnel, and they create our local school curriculum. So, which level of government has the most control when it comes to these different components? So, component 6.1, I said local. And the reason that I did is because they have the most control when it comes to supporting the learning needs and promoting the mission and vision for the school. So, that school district is in charge of doing all of that for their school, creating their own vision and communicating, having all the different technology that they need. Like, for example, in my school, having the Chromebooks for all students, that is all locally controlled the most. Component 6.2, advocating, evaluating, developing data informed resourcing plans that support school improvement and student development. I put local and state for that. The local schools do a lot of testing, and we always are creating different assessments and things and collecting data in order to improve achievement. But state also has a lot of that responsibility as well and creates those state testing that holds schools accountable for that and, um, you know, tries to get schools to improve and have high standards. And then component 6.3, reflectively evaluating and communicating about laws and rights and policies and regulations to promote student and adult success and well-being. I put state and federal. State, again, has a lot of control over the different rules and regulations that they have for the school districts in that state. But then, of course, the federal government also does that too with some of their overarching rules and regulations that they have for all schools in our country. So, how does all of this support the educational success and well being of all students and adults? Well, one thing is that it provides a lot of accountability. It keeps people responsible and holds them accountable for making sure that we are always doing our best and trying to keep all of our students successful. There are also different layers of support. So there are different resources and different funding at all of the different levels to help provide all of the necessary materials and things like that that students need. And then they also provide all of the different rules and regulations, which I know that sometimes we as teachers um, find some of them a little overbearing, but really what they are trying to do is have equality for all students and make sure that the well-being of the students is top priority and that they are all able to get the same level of education. There's no discrimination or anything like that. So standard 6, the NELP standard 6, um, for operations and management promotes the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult by applying the knowledge, skills, and commitments necessary to improve management, communication, technology, school level governance, and operation systems to develop and improve data-informed and equitable school resource plans and to apply laws, policies, and regulations. So the standard correlation for this assignment gave me a lot of knowledge on who is responsible for all of the students and all of the different laws and policies and regulations that help promote that. We were looking at all of the different levels of government, all of the different types of things that they are responsible for at each level. How is it relevant? Well, this assignment definitely taught me some things that I didn't know, especially about like No Child Left Behind and when that's implemented and what that really means and why that those rules and regulations are in place. And then for reflection, this assignment is going to change the way that I teach and learn because it gives me a different perspective. So, like I said, I really understand now why there are so many different rules and regulations, and it keeps me from being as cynical as I was before. It also influences decisions that I make as a future school leader because I'll make sure that anything that I'm involved in follows those local, state, and federal guidelines. I will also be a lot more aware of all of the different funding and resources that are available to help my school and any kind of program or policy that is trying to be put in place at my local school district or school. So that is it. I look forward to getting to know everyone and learning a lot more about school law. I definitely feel like this is an area where I can have a lot of improvement because even though I've heard of a lot of the different rules and laws and, we mention them at school, I haven't really ever looked in depth at any of them. So I look forward to learning a lot and meeting everyone. Bye.